Government has contributed to this climate of poor growth. You look at this fiscal cliff. I don't know if any of you guys have heard about this. You know who made that? Congress made that. The idea that we should have these enormous tax increases at the same time as we have these dramatic cuts in spending, at the same exact time that all these taxes expire, at the same exact moment that the spending goes down in a dramatic fashion and uncontrolled way, that wasn't an accident. Congress chose that. The fiscal cliff is a complete creation of the political branch in Washington, D.C. And it's an example, once more, of a dysfunctional process that threatens our economy and millions of people across our economy. What about the uncertainty out there? What the tax regulations are going to be, what the taxes are going to be, what regulations are going to be, about energy policy, about the national debt. We owe $16 trillion. There's no plan in place to deal with it. All of that uncertainty discourages people from investing their money in America. Because that's how the economy grows, when someone that has access to money decides to take it out of the bank, and instead of buying bars of gold, they decide to use it to invest in the economy and open up a new business. And people are afraid to do that in a country with a $16 trillion debt and no plan to fix it. Taxes they can't predict, regulations they can't plan for, and an energy policy that disincentivizes manufacturing and the growth of other industries in the United States. The second part of the problem we talked about is our people sometimes don't have the skills they need. And I want to be blunt about that. It all begins with societal breakdown. We have very significant societal problems in America today. The breakdown of the American family has a direct impact on our economic well-being. I often hear people talk about the social conservative, the fiscal conservative. The social and moral well-being of your people is directly linked to their economic well-being. You cannot separate the two. And the fact of the matter is that it is startling to see what an enormous advantage in life it is when a child is raised in a stable home by two parents. It is the greatest gift my parents ever gave me. Was not a big house, not even a college savings account. They couldn't afford that. But they gave me a valuable thing. They gave all my siblings a valuable thing, which was an enormous head start in life. And that is, I was raised in a strong and stable home, where my parents loved each other and lived together and raised us, and made us feel loved and secured and encouraged to dream. Now, sadly, there are a lot of kids that don't find themselves in that circumstance, and let me be clear, there are some heroic single parents out there. But they would be the first ones to tell you how difficult it is. Of course, it extends beyond that. Millions of children every year are born out of wedlock in this country. Millions of kids that are growing up in dangerous neighborhoods and substandard housing, no access to health care, from a broken family where maybe their grandmother's raising them because they never met their father, and their mom's working 2 jobs to make ends meet. These kids are starting out life with 5 or 6 strikes against them. It's going to be difficult for them to get ahead unless someone does something. These are the facts of societal breakdown, and they manifest themselves in our economy. And as a society, we need to understand that. There are other issues, and you're dealing with them in the state. We need a 21st century curriculum. We have to educate our kids to have the skills to do the jobs of the 21st century. We need to do a better job at adult education. There are plenty of people I've met, and you've met them too. They're in their late 20s or early 30s. Maybe they made the mistake when they were younger of not going to school, but now they regret it and they want to change their lives. We've got to figure out a way to get them back into programs where they can acquire skills in a trade or in a career. My sister did that. In her mid-30s, raising her 2 boys by herself, she was able to go back to school and get her degree in education and a master's in special education, and changed her life completely. We have to do that for more people. Of course, the college costs are significant. Not just going to school like I did here in Northwest Missouri. I transferred back after a year to the University of Florida in the law school. I graduated with exorbitant student debt. Someone named Sally Mae kept taking $700 out of my account every month. And it was in some months, and you hear others say that when you added up all my student loans, I spent more on my student loans than I did on any other expense. So I knew that going in, but we have to do something about that as well. We have too many kids that are graduating school with enormous debt load, and when they go in, they don't even know it. They have no idea how much it's going to cost to pay it back. And they're studying for careers that will never pay them the money they need to pay it back. They at least deserve the right to know that going in. So now I've given you all the problems, but what are the solutions? Let me tell you where we start. We start with a very simple notion. The way to turn our economy around is not by making rich people poor. It's by making poor people richer. That's the way you do it. And it starts, number one, with economic growth. What can government do at the federal level to get the economy growing again? Well, look to your governor here in Iowa. How about balancing your budget and dealing with your debt so that you don't have it? How about tax rates that generate the revenue government needs, but are not so high or so unpredictable that people are afraid to invest in your economy moving forward? How about a regulatory process that takes into account the costs of the regulation, not just the theoretical benefits of those regulations? How about an investment in energy policy, not just energy politics? The United States of America is now the most energy-rich country in the world with a wide portfolio of energy resources, including energy resources that you're pioneering here. Now that's not just good in terms of creating jobs, because it does. And that's not just good because of the fact that it allows us to be independent, because it does. It allows American manufacturing to be competitive again. We've been losing all these jobs for decades because labor costs were lower overseas. If we could lower energy costs in America, all of a sudden, all kinds of American manufacturing is viable again. You know what manufacturing jobs are? They're middle-class jobs that allow people to raise their families, to buy a house, to take a vacation, and to send their kids to college or to get ahead in life. If we had a viable energy policy, we would be so much further ahead in our economic growth. We have to deal with health care. We do have a health insurance problem in America. Absolutely. But a big government solution is not the answer. What we need is to figure out a way to empower people to have access to a vibrant private market where they can buy the insurance they need at a price they can afford from any company in America that will sell it to them. We need federal policies that encourage that, as well as tort reform that's driving up the cost of health care all across America. We need sound monetary policy. There's not enough talked about that. But the Federal Reserve, its role should be to have stable currency, not to intervene in the economy artificially, creating even more uncertainty. There's all kinds of other things. You know agriculture is important. You realize the opportunity for American agriculture? There are millions of people around the world emerging into the middle class. You know what that means around the world when they emerge into the middle class? They buy more stuff, including food. And many of the countries that they live in cannot produce the food that they want to consume. That's where we come in. That's where American manufacturing has the opportunity for an extraordinary 21st century renaissance. And clearly, Iowa is a state that understands that. How about free but fair trade? We need to find more markets that buy the stuff we build and we sell. And the good news is that there are millions of people out there that can afford to buy it now.